amazing negotiator, to be honest with you, very quality woman. She loved Mexico. She worked in Mexico for 25 years. She said, sir, they will never give you that. We've been trying to get that for 25 years. I said, oh, I'll get it, 100%. I said, what else do you want? And we got Tom Holman involved, who's great, central casting. I think he's central casting, he was great. And we got our border patrol people, Brandon Judd, and all of these people. These are incredible people. They actually want to do their job. They have a much easier job by not doing their job, but they want to do it. And I said, give me a list of the top 10 things. And Title 42, everything. They gave me a list. And one of the things is remain in Mexico. We have to remain in Mexico. You can't get into our country. So I had a list of 10 things. Catch and release in Mexico. We call it catch and release in brackets in Mexico. We have catch and release in our country that nobody would ever leave. So they gave me these things, and this very handsome man shows up, representing the president of Mexico. And he said, the chief top guy. And he said, sir, you've asked for some things that, of course, are ridiculous. Of course, we guess you give them to us. 100% you give them to us. No, we will not. He said, first thing we need to give you 28,000 soldiers, free of charge. No, because why would we do that? We're not going to give you 28,000 soldiers. This is ridiculous. I said, no, 100% they're going to give them to us. 100% have them down. Then I want to have a remain in Mexico policy where people can't come into our country. They have to stay in your country until we've had them. And he said, no, we won't do that. We've never done that. We won't do that. Yes, you will. 100%. I'm telling you, 100%. And he started getting confused. You're saying, then we did the problem where very sick people were coming into our country. So we had, as you know, we have a very specific bill that was passed years ago to keep people that are sick. We don't want to catch disease from people that sadly are not feeling so great, and various other things that were just as bad. And I had 10 of them. I said to the Border Patrol, I said to Brandon Judd, give me the top 10. The top 10 list, and he gave me a top 10. And he smiled. He said, yeah, in years they haven't been able to get one half of one. So, because, every country out negotiates us, because we have stupid people running our country for the most part. When you look at what China, I took hundreds of millions of dollars. Nobody before me, nobody took in 10 cents from China. So I said, no, this is what I want. And he tells me, and I said, here's the story, sir. I'm signing before me a bill. If you don't have this approved before the end of this meeting, when we get 28,000 soldiers free of charge, and all of the other things stay in Mexico. We call it remain in Mexico. Remain in, isn't that a nice title? Remain in Mexico. Sounds simple, but it's very complex for them, not for us. He said, then I'm going to sign this. And it says that we are going to put on Mexico a 25% tax or tariff on every car. They still have 32% of our car industry. I don't know if you know that, Jim. 32% of our car industry has been taken out of the United States. It's made in Mexico. They have factories that you wouldn't believe, they go miles long, bigger factories than what we have. They stole it over the years. Not with me, I stopped it. I was going to put a charge if they make a car in Mexico, sell it in the United States. I was going to put a 30% tariff on it, and they decided not to build those particular factories. But nobody else does that stuff. So I said, here's the story. You're going to either do it, or I'm going to put a 25% tax on every single product coming into the United States from Mexico. And that'll be far more money than the money that we're talking about. And he said, sir, may I make a phone call, please? He said, you know the sign of a choker? It's when they start grabbing their neck, because they can't breathe. Dan Gable never choked. He doesn't know what I'm talking about, because he didn't choke. That guy was a winner. It's only like 150, I think 150 and one. I don't know. I think he had COVID for the one or something. I don't know what the hell. But the greatest guy, even Jim Jordan was an All-American, 3-time All-American. He said, no, Dan was the greatest of them all. You still say that? That's pretty good, Dan. I mean, it's not chopped liver here, right? But anyway, so I said, all right, come on, you have 5 minutes. Just call up the president. And he walks back. Sir, on behalf of the president of Mexico, it would be my great honor to give you 28,000 soldiers free of charge. Give you remain in Mexico. Give you catch and release in Mexico. The guys go like, oh. And we got it all. And we had the safest border in the history of our country. And it was pretty amazing, and it was pretty easy. Under Biden, the USA has become a dumping ground to the world. And speaking of Mexico, Biden's people went to see them 2 days ago. Mexico said, we want $5 billion just to talk. They said, they want $5 billion to talk. And you know what our guy said? We'll consider it. These are the worst. These are the worst people. And it's not even like bad. They're stupid people. Okay, they're stupid. They're stupid. In New York City last week, American school children were kicked out of class so that the school could be turned into a migrant camp. And think of this, a migrant camp. Biden puts America last. I put America first. Our border is so important. So important. Now, I do something, and because it's sad, we don't have a lot to do. Okay, but what are we going to have a lot to do tomorrow? And you have a lot to do today to talk to your friends, right? Tomorrow's the big day. But we have a little time. Does anybody want to hear the snake? You want it? Take it up. Because I think it's so appropriate. Jim Jordan's never heard this before, I don't think. But it's so appropriate. And it has to do with people coming into your country. It has to do with who they are. You know what you're getting. We know what we're getting. We're getting terrorists. We're getting jailbirds. We're getting guys that were major drug lords coming into our country, staying here. And they're not going to be school teachers. They're not going to be innocent people. They're going to cause tremendous harm and death. And so this is called The Snake. And this was an old rock and roll song, but, mended somewhat. To be honest, probably every word is amended almost by me. But I think it's very instructive, and I think it's very important, actually. On her way to work one morning, down the path along the lake, a tender-hearted woman saw a poor, half-frozen snake. His pretty-colored skin had been all frosted with the dew. Poor thing, she cried, I'll take you in, and I'll take care of you. Take me in, oh tender woman. Take me in, for heaven's sake. Take me in, oh tender woman, sighed the vicious snake. She wrapped him up all cozy in a comforter of silk and laid him by her fireside with some honey and cinnamon. She hurried home from work that night, and soon as she arrived, she found the pretty snake she'd taken in had been revived. Take me in, oh tender woman, take me in, for heaven's sake. Take me in, oh tender woman, cried the vicious snake. She clutched him to her bosom. You're so beautiful, she cried. But if I hadn't brought you in by now, you truly would have died. She stroked his pretty skin again and kissed and held him tight. But instead of saying, thank you, ma'am, the snake gave her a vicious bite. Take me in, oh tender woman, take me in, for heaven's sake. Take me in, oh tender woman, sighed the vicious snake. I saved you, cried the woman, and you've bitten me, but why? You know your bite is poisonous, and now I'm going to die. Shut up, silly woman, said the reptile with a grin. You knew damn well I was a snake before you took me in. The snake, that's our border. We're taking in people from prisons. We're taking in people from mental institutions. We're taking in murderers, the drug lords. We're taking in people that are very, very sick with diseases that will be spread all over our nation. We're doing the wrong thing for our country. It's going to be very hard to recover from that, but we're going to start on day one with deportation. Yeah. Does that make sense, by the way? Does that make right? Is there anyone in the room that doesn't get it? Because if you don't, please leave. You're hopeless if you don't get it. That's what's happening to our country. That's what's in the state. Just remember it. As soon as I take the oath of office, I'll terminate every open border policy of the Biden administration and begin the largest deportation operation in American history. And it's not a nice thing to say. It's a tough thing to say. But remember, Dwight Eisenhower, if you actually know, he's a pretty good president. And when he was president, he was very much into exactly that. They had a big border problem, and he'd take people, and they just drop them on the other side of the border, but they drop back, and then he realized that you had to take them away, and they'd fly them 3,000 miles down into deep South America, and generally they would never come back. But he was very tough on deportations, and we're going to have to, because what's happening to our country is not sustainable. It's not sustainable. We can't have 15, 16, 18 million people. I mean, they're taking over our schools, they're taking over our hospitals. You go to a hospital and you can't, and you know, you want to take care of people. They're people, whether they're American people, but it's not sustainable. It's no good. It's not sustainable. Our people are suffering greatly in Manhattan. You have thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of people poured into New York, and they're living on Madison Avenue. They're staying on Fifth Avenue. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. And in all due respect to the mayor of New York, he's fighting it as much as he's going to fight it. He's fighting a criminal element, a sick element. He's fighting an element of people that have no idea what they're doing to our country, or they do have an idea, and that's even worse, because if they did, they would know that they're destroying our country. Ron DeSanctimonious and Nikki Haley will never secure our border, and they'll never come close to it. It's only words. DeSanctis, that's the abbreviation. I like that. Yes, you can only say DeSanctimonious. It's good, but you can't say it too many times. And you look, it's brilliant. It's not rather brilliant, I must say. The best might be Pocahontas. You know, somebody said, "What's your best?" Pocahontas was good. You know, I have Indian blood. 1,014. I have Indian blood. She got her jobs by being a minority, right? She got into Harvard because she was a minority. She got everything. And then she met Trump. And we came up with the name Pocahontas, and she told her friend, "He's killing me with that name." And they said, "You have to apologize. You have to apologize for what you're doing with her." And I did. I got up and I did. No, I did apologize. I apologize. I'd like to apologize to Pocahontas, the real Pocahontas, for what I... DeSantis did not introduce a single major piece of border security legislation in his entire time in Congress. He had no idea. He couldn't care less about it. And you know, one thing with a politician, and this would be true with me also, but I was from borders from day one. We did so well with borders that in the 2020 election, it never came up. And I used to tell my people, "I want to talk about borders." They say, "Sir, they're not interested." I did such a good job that it wasn't a point of conversation, but we still got millions of more votes than we did the first time. But I'm looking at a man in the back. I tell you what, I watched Ron DeSanctimonious getting ready to speak about 6 months ago. He was on the stage with your governor, and your very loyal governor, who's now the least popular governor in the country. And they were getting ready to speak, and it was very interesting. Two young men, they looked like they came out of the Wharton School of Finance. Very handsome guys, obviously from Iowa. He was standing back, and somebody was introducing him. And do you remember this? And they walked up, and they took the podium like this. They were the coolest cats I've ever seen. They weren't like sneaking up, right? They walked on the stage, just lifted everything up, and they just walked off with the two guys. And the governor was screaming, "You took our podium!" And DeSanctimonious is screaming, my podium!" They're standing it with that. And they walked off. And then if you watch it a little longer, you see them, they walk around, and you can see it backstage. They just stole the podium. They took it away. I'm dying to find those two guys because I'd love to shake their hand. I don't know if they're in the room. Are they in the room? I don't know. Nobody knows who they are. It was one of the coolest acts I've ever seen in politics. So if you would spread the word, I've never done this before, spread the word. I have to find, I said, I'm going to Iowa, I have to find those two guys, okay? So please look for them. Madam Attorney General, you can do it better than anybody. If you put the full force, if you do what they do to me, they have the full force of the Justice Department in against the political opponent of a guy who can't speak well. So if you could do that, I want to find those two people, and I hope you don't prosecute them. They did nothing wrong. Likewise, Nikki Haley opposed my border wall. You know, she opposed the wall very strongly. She was totally against it, which tells you where she's coming from. She condemned my strong border policies, and in 2016, she stabbed the Republican Party in the back by siding with a gentleman named Barack Hussein Obama. Remember Rush Limbaugh? You go, ladies and gentlemen, in the rush, and we're talking about Barack Hussein Obama. He's going, Barack, emphasis on Hussein Obama. He was a piece of work. That's this. We gave him the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Remember that? It was great. He was very brave. He fought a hard battle. That last couple of years, he fought a hard battle. But Barack Hussein Obama she sided with Barack Hussein Obama against me on a thing called the Trump travel ban. And the travel ban meant we want to keep people from terrorist countries out of the United States, if you don't mind. And she fought me on it. I said, what the hell is she doing? She was in a different position. But she fought me on it. I wasn't too happy, but I do want to make Henry the governor, so sometimes you do things. She even said illegal aliens were not criminals. Ron and Nikki also want to gut Social Security and Medicare for seniors. Now they're changing it to them, but it's not going to happen, by the way. First of all, they're both getting killed by Biden in the polls. And I'm beating Biden in every single poll in every single state. So you're not going to. Nikki had one rigged poll a long time ago, like 3 months ago. One poll that showed she was up by like 11 or 12 points. And it was a rigged poll. I know the polling group very much. The best poll you can buy. And because they're just as dishonest as these people back here. They're pretty dishonest. So what happens, she uses that to a fair deal, but she loses every time. She loses in every state. She loses to everybody. And she's really not much of a Republican. She's certainly not MAGA. DeSantis voted 3 times to raise the retirement age on Social Security to at least 70, 3 times. And Nikki Haley says the retirement age of 65 is, quote, her words, way too low. You don't hear that from Trump. Because we have so much money underfoot. We have liquid gold more than Saudi Arabia, more than Russia. We were number 3 or 4 when I first started, 3 or 4 in oil production. And by the time I got out, you have to see this graph, Saudi Arabia, Russia, sort of going a little bit up, and then we're down here, and we're like a rocket. It's like, psh, and we were way number 1, and we're energy independent, but we would have been energy dominant within a few months. We would have been making so much money, we would have started paying off our debt. We would have reduced taxes still further. And that's where we could do so much. And we can also do a lot of cutting. We can also do, is that Nigel Farage, by the way? Oh, you stand up, will you? I'm just looking at this handsome guy. He's been a backer of mine from day one. They call Brexit very non-controversial. And you've been right. They haven't implemented too well, but you've been right. No, we're big fans. Thank you. It's really an honor to have you here. Great. You look great. I love these suits. They know how to dress over there. We don't know how to dress like they do. Thank you. Great honor, man. Nikki Haley even supported Paul Ryan's 2011 plan to destroy Medicare, and the very same plan that led Democrat television ads showing Republicans really granny off the cliff. Remember the Paul Ryan granny off the cliff? Well, DeSantis loves Paul Ryan. Paul Ryan really hurt Fox, although they did very well the other night with their wonderful town hall. Thank you very much. But he's a big Paul Ryan fan. Paul Ryan was a disaster as speaker. When Nancy Pelosi was there, she had subpoenas stacked up on both sides of her desk, and any congressman could walk in and just take one. With Paul Ryan, he had no subpoenas. Congressmen, they go in and beg them, say, Paul, we need it. It's so bad. No, come back and see me in 2 weeks. Come back. I don't think he issued one subpoena in all the time. And with crazy Nancy, she's crazy. And by the way, I offered her 10,000 troops for January 6th, and I did that 3 or 4 days in advance. And now they've terminated, they've destroyed all of the evidence in that J6 of thugs and bad people. But we offered her 10,000. If she would have used 500, you wouldn't have had it. Because that was a very tiny fraction of the, it was the biggest crowd I ever spoke before. A tiny fraction, you had a problem, but she turned it down. And she is the reason that you had that problem. She turned it down, and the mayor turned it down, and the mayor turned it down in writing. She said, no, we're not going to do that. And she said she didn't like the look. I said, look, if they don't want to do it. And she's in charge of security, by the way. I'm not. The president is not. The Speaker of the House is in charge of the Capitol of security, which a lot of people don't know because you don't get the facts. And peacefully and patriotically was not even mentioned. You know, whenever they talk about my speech, they leave the words peacefully. It was called peacefully and patriotically. But Paul Ryan was a disaster, a total disaster. Real rhinos. I call him a super rhino. And unlike Ron and Nikki, we will always protect Medicare and Social Security for our great seniors. We're not going to hurt our seniors. We're not going to do it. We have so many other things we can do. Nikki Haley also supported a 23% national sales tax. So you go out and buy something. And how is that on the middle class? And how about lower income people? The whole thing is ridiculous. And she fought it really hard. She wanted it and fought for it really hard. In short, radical left Democrats would chew her up and eat her alive. And what they're doing now is they're supporting her in New Hampshire, and Koch is supporting her, who's just nothing but a super rhino globalist version. Ask yourselves, who does the radical left and the Washington swamp fear more? Nikki Haley, Ron DeSanctimonious, or President Donald J. Trump? I can tell you right now. I didn't even used to answer their phone calls. When Koch would call up, I said, forget it, because I thought he was so bad for our country. The corrupt establishment knows that if you put me back in the White House, their reign is over. It will be over. And America will be a free nation once again. We are not a free nation. Joe Biden and his henchmen are so desperate to stop us that they're weaponizing law enforcement for high-level election interference. They've never done this before. We've never done it. It's done. It's done a lot in third-world countries, banana republics. They've never done this. Joe Biden is a threat to democracy, big threat to democracy for two reasons. Number one, he's incompetent. And number two, he's surrounded by people that aren't incompetent. They're actually very dangerous. And they're very smart. And they have energy. And they can figure out how to walk off the stage, you know. But he's a threat to democracy for many reasons. This is only happening because we're leading big in the polls. You know, if I wasn't running, or if I was in fourth place, or fifth place, or seventh place, you notice a lot of people have gotten that sloppy. Chris Christie just dropped that. And if we weren't doing so well with the general public, I mean, honestly, our polls here are great, but our national polls are even much more substantial. And if we weren't doing that, I wouldn't have been indicted. They wouldn't have indicted me. They indict you because they're still fighting my 2016 win. People in Congress that are fighting here. He challenged the election, Billy, right? He challenged the election. How dare we have to indict him? He challenged the election. They talk about slates. I had nothing to do with slates, but patriots had to do with slates. And they indict him. Thomas Jefferson did slates. They've been slates all over. On Alabama, which I won, I think, by 45 points in 2016, even more now. But Alabama, they said, I cheated on Alabama. We won by 45, and they challenged it. They challenged it. The same way they're challenging, it's such a disgrace what's going on. It is a two-tiered system of justice, and we have to get our Justice Department back, because you're not going to have a country anymore. You can't have it. At least I have a voice. When they indict me, I can explain what the indictment is, like the boxes hooks. I have presidential records. I have a authorized bill from 1978 or so that allows me to do exactly what I did. The New York Times did a story. Please, 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 Mr. President, please, may we have those papers. And then they said that's the only thing they have the right to ask. Now, Biden has about 15 or 20 times more, and he has it from when he was a senator and a vice president. He doesn't come under the Presidential Records Act. He doesn't have that protection. And watch what happens. They'll say he was okay, and he made it totally impossible to get. He's got papers under his Corvette in the garage, right? You know, sitting under the wet floor of the Corvette. He thinks the Corvette's the greatest thing. Let's find out what country gave him that Corvette, because he takes a lot of different things. But you look at that hoax, you know, it's very interesting when it was announced, because they came after me. Then it was announced that, ladies and gentlemen, it's just been announced that President Biden has got thousands of classified documents. You believe this? And some people were saying, I was watching that fake news CNN right there. Look, the camera just went off, the light just went off, the red light off, put it back on. So I'm watching fake news, and the announcer, the person, fake dapper, I think it was, said, oh no, he did it again, meaning me. Because if he's got him, they're not going to do anything about it. But if I've got him, they want to, they want to bring back the death penalty, bring back the electric chair out of retirement. But the new, and it's true, if I weren't leading or if I weren't a factor or if I wasn't in the race, none of this would be happening. I'd probably be having a nice time right now. But I'm having a better time being with the people of Iowa. I actually, believe it or not, I enjoy this. I enjoy it. There's got to be something a little wrong there because I enjoy it. I can be right now in one of the most beautiful places in the world, someplace having a great time, but I have a better time right here. I'd like it to be a little bit warmer, but you know what? I'll tell you, you get around pretty well because we didn't know would anybody show up today. They have people that can't get in, and I think that's going to happen tomorrow night. Hopefully, more importantly, Jim, tomorrow night that's going to happen. But in the new the new Gov poll, it's called YouGov, very respected. It's Trump at 69, just came out 2 minutes ago. DeSantis at 14 and Haley at 12. And we're up big in Iowa likewise. We're really up big. I don't want to talk about it too much. I'd like you to leave this by saying, I think we're about 1 point down because that's what you're going to vote. We're 1 point down. It's going to be tough. We all have to get out and vote. So I'm not telling you that we're 44 points up. But the higher we're up, the higher we go, the better a signal. We send a good signal to New Hampshire, but the better a signal we send in November that we're taking our country back. So it's really important. No matter what the polls say, no matter if they're way up, and they are, but you got to get out and vote. We're also dominating in the general election while Biden is clobbering Nikki Haley. She's killing Nikki Haley in the polls, and she's also beating DeSantis in the polls. Haley has lost 20 points in head-to-head polls against Biden in just the last month. I don't know what's coming out about her, but she's lost. She's gone way down in the polls against Biden. And I sort of believe in polls. I only talk about polls if they're good for me. I never talk about them if they're bad. I say, ladies and gentlemen, there's a new poll. You can bet it's going to be good. If it's a bad poll, I just don't talk about it, right? I mean, The radical left Democrats rigged the presidential election of 2020, and we are not going to do it. If they get away with the kind of things they did get legislative approval, they go to a legislature. We're just not going to go into one of the biggest legislatures. Because if they do it, and if they get away with the kind of things, then they come down to the legislature. But much more than they even asked for. So many things. You take a look at Truth to Vote, where they have tens of thousands of people stuffing the ballot boxes. You take a look at the 51 intelligence agents saying the laptop from hell was Russian disinformation. They say that made a 10-point spread if the people would have known the truth about the laptop from hell. It's amazing. They cheat in any way they can. If the Biden DOJ gets away with this interference, then it won't stop with me. The weaponization of law enforcement against Republicans is never going to end. Remember, the advantage I have is that when they indict me, I can explain to people because I have a big audience, and I can explain. But if I'm a congressman or even a senator, and I get a subpoena to go to a grand jury, you're dead. Politically, you're dead. You can't explain it. I can sit here in front of these big audiences with all those crazy cameras back there, and I can explain it, and people can make up their mind. And they made up their mind like 85% that it's a witch hunt hoax. It's just a continuation of Russia. And that includes local DAs, and that includes attorney generals, because they're all, you saw the Fannie Willis. You saw that deal? Her boyfriend, she gave him $1 million to go get Trump, right? And then they go on vacation, spending the $1 million they're going on cruise lines. I told my wife I'd like to take you on a vacation like that, but I can't afford it. It's too expensive. Oh, they're going on Norwegian cruise lines. I mean, that's something. But the nice thing, it gets exposed. Eventually, it gets exposed. It's a beautiful thing. See, when the system works, it's a beautiful thing. But she's been exposed. I can't imagine they can continue on with that case. Some really big. She wanted to indict senators. She wanted to indict Lindsey Graham. It did nothing wrong. He just wants to make sure elections are good. But they had a list of people they wanted to indict, like 48 people over, and these are patriots, a woman, 84 years old, standing with the American flag like this, and they indict her. These are sick people. These are sick, and then they find out it's a fraud, and she's filtering money to her boyfriend, and I mean big money. And he never did a case before. He never did a felony case. He never did a case before. Other than that, he's extremely talented. Every time the radical left, they should drop that Georgia case. So they should drop the boxers hoax. Well, if they let him off on the boxers hoax, he has 10 times more. That guy had 50 years worth of classified information. And Dick Durbin, a senator, Democrat senator, when he heard that he took the information as a senator out of the skip, he said, there's no way he did that. That's the worst thing I've ever heard. Then, of course, he came back and said, well, it's not that bad. Every time the radical left Democrats, Marxists, communists, and fascists indict me, I consider it truly a great badge of honor because I'm being indicted for you. I never even think about it any other way. Never forget our enemies want to take away my freedom because I will never let them take away your freedom. We have to straighten out our country. They want to silence me because I will never let them silence you. And in the end, they're not after me, they're after you, and I just happen to be standing in their way. Thank you very much. Here I am. So we're thrilled to be joined today by an incredible group of patriots, including a very special guest who some of you know, and I was very impressed with him. He ran in the primary. I thought he was just outstanding, and he's got an incredible record. Really, as a businessman, he made a tremendous amount of money, very, very respected in the world of business. He then ran for governor of North Dakota, and he won. Got an incredible wife, incredible. And I'd like to ask them both up here, Governor Burgum, Mrs. Burgum of North Dakota. Doug, come on up, please. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you, President Trump. It's so amazing to be here with all of you. So grateful to be with everybody in Iowa. And for Catherine and I, it's always a special time to be down in Iowa because as we were just saying, it's great to be here. Grateful for all of you to be out here and grateful for what you're going to do tomorrow. But Catherine and I especially love coming down to Iowa, especially on a day like today, because we come down here to warm up. But 4 years ago, I was speaking on behalf of President Trump at the Iowa caucuses in Sioux City. And today, I'm here to do something that none of the other presidential primary candidates have done. And that's endorse Donald J. Trump for the President of the United States of America. I've had an opportunity to have a front row seat. I've seen President Trump and what he's been able to do. I've seen it as a business leader, and I've seen it as a governor. I've seen the difference that President Trump can make. Because remember, when I first took office, President Obama was still president. Yeah, and trying to work with his administration was a disaster. Then President Trump took office, and everything changed. States like Iowa, states like North Dakota, hardland states, we were respected. We had a friend and a partner in the White House who understood us and who wanted to see our state succeed versus being regulated out of business. Now, I've had a chance as governor to see what the world is like under Joe Biden. And America needs an 180-degree change in the direction of where Joe Biden has taken us. Joe Biden has been wrong on the economy, he's wrong on energy, and he's wrong on national security. Biden's policies are empowering our enemies, and they hurt America. Biden's inflation has raised the cost of food that you put on your table. It's raised the cost of gas you put in your car. That's what happens when we put someone in the White House like Joe Biden, unlike President Trump, but we put someone in the White House who's never created a job in the private sector. What a contrast to President Trump. President Trump protected our borders. He cut red tape like no president has ever done before. He passed the largest tax cuts in the history of America, and he supercharged our economy. And not only that, you know how he did that? He not only delivered, as the one president delivered energy independence, and as someone who leads an energy state, I know what that means. When he's in the White House, he'll deliver energy dominance. Under President Trump, America was safe and prosperous. And tomorrow, when you caucus, you have an opportunity to send a message to the nation and send a message to the world that Donald J. Trump will make America great again. Thank you very much, Iowa.
Wow, thank you, Aaron. That was an honor. Really, if you watched him perform, it was like nobody else. He just has a great record in everything he's ever done. So, on behalf of the Trump family, we thank you both very much. Very much. Thank you. Also with us, Iowa Attorney General Brenna Bird, who is a courageous warrior. Thank you, Brenna. Incredible. I think you're the most popular politician right now in Iowa. Although I'd say Big Matt, stand up. Big Matt is right there too.